In this PowerPoint, I want to talk about monopoly. But first, let's review a competitive firm, pure competition in the short run and in the long run. If a firm is earning pure economic profit in the short run, we're talking about a firm in pure competition, we see that their profit maximizing output is at QE, and we recognize that they will maximize profit where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. We drop down a vertical line to the horizontal axis where that vertical line intersects the average cost curve. That's where we know that we can now calculate what the profit is for the firm. The profit is shown in yellow. However, in the long run, because of the nature of pure competition, where there are low barriers to entry, where there are many sellers, where there's a homogeneous product, where there's perfect information, we recognize that more sellers will enter the marketplace to take advantage of that economic profit. And in the long run, we see what happens. We recognize that our output is still where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. But we also recognize that in the long run, all the economic profit is squeezed out. And so we see that there are some equalities here. We recognize that there is allocative efficiency, where price equals marginal cost, and there's also productive efficiency, where price equals the minimum of average total cost. In this graph, we want to look at different price levels. At the price level P5, we can see that the price is above average total cost, and so this firm is earning an economic profit. We also recognize that that's a short-run situation because more firms will enter the industry in order to take advantage of the economic profit. At price level P4, we see that price is equal to marginal cost equals the minimum of average total cost, and we know that they are earning accounting profit, but they are earning zero economic profit. At price P3, we recognize that they are below the minimum of average total cost, but they're above the minimum of average variable cost. Because they're below average total cost, we know that they are not earning any accounting profit or economic profit, and so they are operating at a loss. But they will continue to stay in business, hoping that the cost will come down or that there will be something in the industry that will increase the demand for product, hence increasing the price and hence allowing them to earn at least accounting profit. At price P2, we recognize that they are where marginal cost intersects the average variable cost at its minimum. We recognize that they are no longer earning any average fixed cost, and so in essence they're not able to pay their rent, and so they will shut down at this point, and we refer to that as the shutdown point at price P2. So we recognize that the supply curve for the firm is the marginal cost curve above the minimum of the average variable cost curve. Now we're ready to talk about a monopoly. We recognize that a monopoly, characteristics of a monopoly are a single seller, a unique product, they set their own price, and the barriers to entry are high. Access to information is probably limited. We take a look at the graph. We see that the demand curve is downward sloping to the right. As a result of that, marginal revenue curve sets below the demand curve. We still have our same profit maximizing rule, and that is we're going to produce the quantity where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. When we drop a vertical line from that point down to the horizontal axis and up to the demand curve, we see that the price that the monopolist will require in the marketplace is a price at B. And A represents the profit maximizing point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. If we look at this diagram, we see that B is above marginal cost, and we see that B is also above average total cost on the demand curve. This is different than the long run in terms of pure competition. the long run in terms of pure competition is where we have equalities between price and marginal cost, and price and the minimum of average total cost. So we say that a monopoly is neither allocative or productively efficient. When we look at the demand model in terms of recognizing consumer surplus and producer surplus, we see that the consumer surplus is smaller as a result of the monopoly structure, and the producer surplus is larger as a result of the monopoly structure. So consumers lose, producers win with monopoly, but society also loses because we recognize that there is a dead weight loss as well. Consumer surplus is shown at the top, producer surplus is shown below that, and dead weight loss is shown with the yellow. It's also interesting to note that in terms of a monopoly will also try to price discriminate, meaning that they will try to move up the demand curve and hence try to squeeze out all the consumer surplus totally. So that we see if we were to look at the single price that a monopolist would charge for their product, that would be at point C. But we take a look and we say the monopolist that price discriminates, meaning they will try and get the highest price that they can from each consumer. They will move up the demand curve and move down the demand curve to where price equals marginal cost. Hence, their marginal revenue curve also becomes their demand curve. So they are still maximizing profit where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, but they've managed to squeeze out all of the consumer surplus. That concludes my little lecture on monopoly. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a good week.